This is their year. They must be playing defensive. Schmeichel's not coming up for this one. Thinks he's done enough. Is this their moment? It's a Sheringham. And Solskjaer has won it. Manchester United have reached the promised land. Oli Solskjaer. 2 substitutes. Have scored the 2 goals in stoppage time.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello and welcome to the United Community Podcast. This is episode number 10, I think, of the United Community Podcast. Great to be back, everyone. Obviously, football is back very soon after the World Cup. What a World Cup it's been. So we've got plenty to talk about today. Anybody joining us live on YouTube, you're more than welcome. But like I said, plenty to discuss. We're going to talk about the World Cup and maybe review it. Is Messi the greatest ever? We're going to talk about Mbappe. We're going to give our team of the tournament. And then we're going to talk about the return of the Premier League and how squads and teams are affected in relation to injury after the World Cup. And yeah, of course, we'll get into any questions or comments that you may have while we're watching live. But again, I'd just like to welcome the usual suspect. Ricey is back with us again. He still can't get that bloody camera working. But yeah, it's probably better off, to be quite honest. But
Jack's going to buy me a new laptop with all the money he's making now.
Yeah, I wish. But anyway, how are you getting on? How did you, let's jump straight into it, I suppose. World Cup, done and dusted. What did you make of it? Did you enjoy it? Where would you rank it in terms of previous World Cups, all that good stuff?
Yeah, well, look, first off, I remember the last pod before, I was saying I wasn't that excited for the World Cup, a Winter World Cup. I have to say, hats off to Qatar. I thought they did a fantastic job. I really enjoyed the World Cup. Coming up to Christmas there, you're coming home from work some evenings at 4 o'clock. There's games on all day. It was good to see teams from so many different continents. Africans done well, Europeans done well, South Americans done well. It really was a kind of very broad spectrum of teams doing well, not only Europeans and South Americans. I thoroughly enjoyed that World Cup, and without even actually realising it, it kind of gave a nice break from club football and now gives us something to look forward to even more coming back into the Christmas period. Like, what a fairy tale. I don't think anybody in the world that's a real football fan can complain. Obviously, big Ronaldo fans are the French and all will, but like, yeah, we've witnessed the greatest ever, in my opinion, now. And I was big team Ronaldo until the last few weeks, and I doff my hat to Messi.
Yeah, you'd have to, wouldn't you? I think, like, I heard a stat. I think actually the commentators mentioned it during the final that he scored in. Did he score in the last 16 quarters, semis, and final? Now, I don't know, would that have been all in this one World Cup, or has he done it maybe throughout consecutive World Cups?
I was looking for something there on, I thought I found it on Twitter. I don't know, I may have come across it on TikTok. Not too sure, but I can't find it now anyway. But like, Messi throughout that tournament holds now like 27 new records. A lot of these records now are very similar things. Like, he has the most World Cup appearances is one record, and another record, he has the most minutes played in the World Cup. So that kind of comes almost without saying. But yeah, like, this list that he had was like, he's like captain. He's the player to have captained their team to the most times at a World Cup. Like, he's just, bar his goal scoring, I think he's scored the most World Cup goals ever now. I was reading.
So he has the most World Cup goals.
Is it?
No, I don't think so. I think Klose is still top.
Oh, maybe no. He's tied now with Klose. Sorry, he's tied with Klose now. Yeah, that was it. Sorry, you made me doubt myself there. I did read that though. Like, the records that he broke was phenomenal. Even, do you remember a couple of minutes to go in the match? He cut in on his left foot. Hit it down straight down the keeper's throat. Keeper made a good save to tip it over, but like, he's phenomenal, isn't he?
Phenomenal. So again, look, you've kind of touched on it already. Greatest of all time. But let me put it this way to you. Before the World Cup, would you have considered him the greatest of all time, or do you think he needed to win the World Cup to become the greatest ever?
I don't. This may sound kind of stupid or contradictory. I don't think, for me, he needed to win it to become the greatest ever, but I think it settles any debate.
I get you.
I know Pele has 3, and this man has 7 Ballon d'Ors. I'd say in the world, nobody will ever even come to 4 Ballon d'Ors ever again. Like if Mbappe was to get 3 Ballon d'Ors in the next 10 years, that would be phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like that would be phenomenal.
I agree. I think, what is it? Ronaldo has 5. Is it
5 and like 7?
Yeah.
7, like best player in the world. And that's voted. Isn't the Ballon d'Or like voted by other managers and captains and referees?
I don't think so. I think the Ballon, or maybe it is. I thought there was with Ballon d'Or, it's actually a group of,
No, it's definitely down to votes. I don't know how there's a couple of hundred people that
Maybe.
vote, and it's definitely down to votes, because you would see like you could see some lads there and they would be relatively nobodies and they might have 2 votes.
I get you. Yeah.
It's definitely down to a voting system anyway. I'm not actually 100% sure who votes. I thought it was like managers and captains or referees, something along that lines.
Yeah, and let me ask you one final thing on the Messi-Ronaldo debate, and to bring it to, kind of to the Ronaldo side of things. Do you think the fact that all of the trouble that's gone on with Ronaldo over the last couple of months now, obviously with the fallout with the manager at Manchester United, and we've seen something very similar happening then in the World Cup, and we haven't actually had a podcast since then. Do you think that these circumstances have tarnished his reputation and maybe given Messi that leg up in terms of the greatest ever that he needed, or does that really matter in the long term?
No, in the longevity of football and abilities, it doesn't. But you're like, with being the best in the world becomes a personality.
Yeah.
And like, if you're Ronaldo was always arrogant, confident, he could always back it up. But now it's just like as if he's stressed, he's losing the plot. He just can't bear that he is getting older.
Yeah.
Ronaldo, I think he shot himself in the foot and handed the ball into Messi's court. He didn't hand the ball into Messi's court, as in Messi didn't win the World Cup because Ronaldo self-destructed like that.
Exactly.
But Ronaldo, like where does he go from here? I know this isn't what this whole pod is about, but just like, where does he go from here? Yeah, he's over in Real Madrid training now, trying to keep fit. He's not loved by the United fans. Yeah, maybe 50% of the fan base. And in a year's time, he might say, look, it was terrible the way it ended with Ronaldo. But look, he's retiring now. He was a great servant of our club. We're not going to give him that statue because the way he came out, he had valid points on the club. But he's very, very selfish, and the way he came about it, even when you see with Messi the other day, when Messi spoke after it, he referred constantly to his team and we, and the morale in the team, and like the fight and the will to win. Like, they're a bunch of hooligans, really. Like, they die for each other on the pitch. People mightn't like it. They have fierce similarities. Bar having like Messi and world-class players, they have fierce similarities to that team Wimbledon back in the day, like
the crazy gang.
But they don't care. Like, teams come out, Netherlands came out and tried to fight him. Two teams tried shit house street. They came out on top. The thing about Argentina is they have Messi to pull them through it.
Yeah, and while you're mentioning that whole kind of shithousery thing and everything, what did you make of Martinez in the goal in terms of, you know, a lot of people saying he was being unprofessional and throwing the ball away when Tchouaméni was coming up, and you know,
Jack, people can say unprofessional, people can say he's unsportsmanlike. That man is drunk somewhere in Buenos Aires with a World Cup medal in his back pocket and loved by the whole of his nation. Would you care if you were loved by the whole of Ireland and hated by everybody else, but you will die a national hero? Like, he done what he felt he had to do for his country.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, and it may be lack of respect. It was mind games. Again, I read another tweet and it went down. It was a 10-part tweet as some psychologist tweeted about it, how Emi Martinez got into the players' heads. They said he was in the referee's head during the penalty. Just as a player was putting the ball down, Martinez be walking back. Then he'd be shouting at the ref, pointing at the spot. Is it on the spot? Is it on the spot? The ref would walk up, touch the ball, check it. Look back at Martinez, give him a thumbs up. Yeah, it's good. He said this is all psychological. That the player that's waiting to kick it is. Did you see who did he throw the ball away for? That missed. Did you see how far he had to walk to get that ball?
It was out to the edge of the box there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And then Martinez, when he comes back in, gives him a wink in the goal and starts smiling. These lads have the person who I knew very little of before this, and who's one of my favorite footballers now, is Rodrigo de Paul. He's like Messi's personal bodyguard.
Yeah, just doesn't let anyone go near him.
Nobody go near him. I was reading another thing with McAllister, do you know, from Brighton.
From Brighton.
And McAllister, he was giving an interview and he was saying lads on the team used to call him Ginger. And he was like, I didn't like it and it upset me and all. And he said, so I was talking to Messi and I was saying, oh, the lads are upsetting me. They'd call me Ginger and all. He said, Messi told the lads, do not call him that anymore. He said what Messi says. Messi's like a mafia boss, essentially, there. Amongst the players. Even I was watching the homecoming there today, part of it, or whenever it was on. I seen it about 6 hours ago. I don't know if it was live or if it was, I'm not sure the time difference.
Yeah.
And Rodrigo de Paul, they were camped out up on the top of a bus, you know, he was sitting beside Messi, you know, like kind of nudging him, pointing down. They threw up a Donatello mask or something, or Teddy, you know, a Ninja Mutant Turtle was thrown up to Messi and he was just kind of laughing it off. Like, they're a bag of shithouses, but they're world champions and they do not care what the rest of the world thinks of them. And just on another point, as for they go with Aguero and people say, oh, John Terry and all this is very different. Yeah. This is very different.
Yeah.
Aguero gave his whole life to the country and he would have been starting as a striker had he not got that problem with his heart. He definitely would have been coming on as a sub and had a big part to play. If you see the likes of Suarez and all still involved in his countries, he would have been coming on. I think is he Messi's son's godchild or is his child?
No, that's
Messi's,
right. So Aguero's oldest son, Messi is his godfather, Maradona is his grandfather.
Yeah.
He's married to Maradona's daughter.
Yeah, like
or he might not be married.
Look, people love to hate and talk is cheap, but I think he was I won't say well within his rights. I don't see any problem with him being out there on them pitch celebrating. I even was reading something again. I seem to be reading everything.
You're doing nothing, but you're watching. You're just trying to let on to everyone that you read things.
Yeah, watching pictures. But they say apparently he was put on the coaching staff, so he actually got a medal. Before the World Cup, he was put on like they said he's a coach.
Yeah.
So he's actually getting a medal now.
Well, the one thing that I felt with the World Cup final, okay, when you look at Aguero, okay, as a United fan, he's obviously enemy number one. And with Di Maria scoring and assisting goals as an ex-United player and all of the bad talk that he gave, you know, about United and how much he hated the club and things like that, I still found myself, you know, I still found empathy for them and I was happy for them seeing the, you know, the kind of Di Maria couldn't stop crying for the whole bloody game, you know, when he scored a goal and, you know, when goals were going in against him. But there was just something about, and I think what you're saying about Messi is kind of right. If you take Messi out of that Argentinian team, I think the whole story doesn't exist. And I don't think Argentina win that World Cup, not only because what Messi gave them on the pitch, but in terms of, you know, the ending to the legacy. I think that drove on Argentina.
Yeah, like if you look at them, I won't say they're bang average because like they're a massive country in international football. As in, even if Brazil go through a bad patch, what you may call a bad patch of players, they're still Brazil. There's still going to be expectation. But Messi gave hope to that nation. Like, any player, any interview that you've ever heard going on before, players are all like, we want to win this for Messi. Like,
Yeah.
who says that about Ronaldo
Yeah.
when they're with Portugal?
Exactly.
Like, and I don't mean to bring it back to this debate, but I think this debate is officially over. I think everybody knows that Ronaldo was still unbelievable, phenomenal player. Definitely top 3, 4 that ever existed. I'd kind of be putting him and Messi 1 and 2 because I've never seen Pele
Yeah.
play. Yeah, I've seen clips. I don't know what defenders were like back then. I do know they were a lot more hatchet and they'd be taking them down. If you ever see any of them clips of Maradona, they'd be taking them knee-high tackles. Like,
Yeah. Well, I think the one thing that the likes of Ronaldo and Messi have in relation to that argument of the greatest of all time is the longevity that they've done it at. Like Maradona was unbelievable, but he didn't last a long time.
Yeah.
Same with George Best. Now you can say something about Pele. He did last, he played into his 40s. He never played outside of South America. You know what I mean? He played in the United States, but he never played in Europe, So I think for that reason alone, I think, that's why Messi and Ronaldo, if we go back in 50 years' time, if we're looking back, we'll still be talking about him as, the greatest ever. But is the heir to the throne potentially going to get there? And we're talking about Mbappe here to move it on, and obviously he's the first player since Jeff Hurst in 1966 to get a hat-trick in a World Cup final. Does he, or do you think he will potentially reach the levels of Messi and Ronaldo, or is he just going to be seen as a very good player once he retires?
Every player that comes through of this stature is going to be compared to, are they the next? Everyone who shows potential is going to be the next Messi or Mbappe, or questioned, are they going to be the next? Sorry, not Messi or Mbappe, Messi or Ronaldo.
Yeah.
Like, I think Mbappe has a lot more pressure on him than them two lads did at that age. Like, Mbappe is on 500,000 or 1 million a week. Like, the only place Mbappe can realistically go is Real Madrid, and that would massively further his career.
Do you think
probably,
so? Do you think so?
They're realistically the biggest club in the world.
Yeah, but I think if he wants to be seen as one of the greatest players in history in another 10 or 15 years, I think he needs to play in the Premier League. I think the Premier League is so strong now. Like, if you look back, even 10 years ago, when Ronaldo was in La Liga, it was a much stronger La Liga because Barcelona and Real Madrid were a lot closer. I mean, the standard is not... Now, I know Real Madrid are European champions, but should they be European champions? That's questionable. Barcelona are after falling off the face of the earth.
Barcelona, like... Did you not look at the league table?
No, but I'm talking about in terms of presence. I'm probably trying to predict where Barcelona are going to be in a couple of years' time, and I think they're going to be bankrupt. You know what I mean?
Barcelona will be okay.
Yeah,
they're a scumbag club.
Well, what I'm trying to say is, I think the Premier League is so far ahead of every other league in the world now that I think for any player in the next 10 or 15 years to be regarded as one of the greatest of all time, I think you have to do it in the Premier League.
Yeah, like where would Mbappe? Like, probably the only people that could afford him is Man City.
Well, there is a United could afford him.
No, United aren't. I think United are a long way off getting players like that. Even before you start trying to throw around that Bellingham is going to United, Bellingham will 100% not be going to United.
No, I'm not saying that. United's pulling power in terms of where we are, in terms of challenging for leagues and Champions Leagues is nowhere. But in terms of money to pay for players and to get players into the club, United could afford them. United can afford anyone. They always could. They just never went and spent it. And like, even you look today, I seen an article in Sport in Barcelona have an article about Manchester United wanting to sign Messi, or not Messi, Mbappe, and that they're regularly checking up on his availability and things like that. Now, look, obviously, you don't know what how much is in these. But anyway, getting back to the whole
Well,
Mbappe.
Mbappe 100% wouldn't be going there till they be back in Champions League.
Yeah.
100%. Like,
Yeah.
definitely not.
Yeah.
And I think he will be. He'll probably stay knocking around PSG next season.
Do you think so?
Like,
I
unless
think he needs to get out of there. I mean, on the back of having such a strong World Cup like that, and there's talks of him, wanting out as quick as possible as well. I think he'll try and get out in the summer, and I think probably PSG have enough of him. I probably want to get rid of him as well.
I don't know if that, but no, I don't think they do. I definitely don't think PSG do. I think that Mbappe actually earned a lot more respect from me after that World Cup. I always kind of thought he was a spoiled brat. He was. Geez, he turned it on there. 7 goals, was it, or 8 did he score? Like
8, I think, yeah.
8 on the biggest stage of them all, hat-trick in the World Cup final, and then finished his penalty in the shootout as well. I know 2 goals in the final were penalties, but as you see with Harry Kane, you have to put the ball in the net. A penalty isn't as easy.
Absolutely. Right, let's move on to team of the tournament then in terms of the World Cup. And you've been struggling. You've been telling me you've been struggling in relation
Excuse me.
I just want to put up maybe an example on the screen of now. So this is Sky Sports team of the tournament that they've gone with. And look, you can tell, and everyone's going to have their different opinions. You know what I mean? But this is the one they've gone with. I'll let you go first and let me know. Tell me who you've gone with in terms of your team.
Okay, I'm going Emi Martinez. Look, I know if we're going on stats and things like that, there was probably keepers who performed better than him. There's probably keepers who had a lot more shots on him and had saved a lot more shots. I know he conceded 3 goals in the final, but like, I don't see how you could give it to anybody else with that save in the 123rd minute, 13 seconds on the clock. That ball goes in, your World Cup is over. Messi, I reckon, will be indebted to this lad for his life.
Yeah, I think so.
No, but he, like, that save that he pulled off, even the shithousery, he saved penalties in the shootout. For me, he's number one. I'm not saying he's the best goalie in the tournament. I'm saying he's my goalie of the tournament.
Yep, okay.
Right back is Hakimi. Again, he got Morocco to the first African team to get to the semi-final. I think he's a world-class player. Kind of says enough. He was up and down the line the whole time. He's just a great player.
Yeah, absolutely.
Vardy, never even heard of him before it. Phenomenal tournament. I think he was particularly good against Brazil and Spain. Yeah. He stood up in the big matches. Didn't even realize he was so young. 20 years old.
Yeah. Face mask on makes him look like an animal as well.
Like, what a header even in that 3rd, 4th place playoff. Like the power he got from almost a standing header. Just to kind of dive at it.
Yeah.
Thought it was a phenomenal header. The other centre half, could be probably a few people you thrown in here. No one massively stood out. I'm going with Romero. He played most of the matches for Argentina. They're world champions. He's my choice. And the left back I'm going with is, I'm not sure how to spell it now or pronounce it, is Mazroui or Mazrui. I'm not 100%.
Yeah.
He was the left back for Morocco.
Yeah.
The other choice obviously would have been Luis Hernandez, who a lot of people may have given it to. I've seen him in few people's team in the tournaments.
Yeah.
But he had such a stinker against Argentina that I just don't think you could give it to him. Like, Morocco defensively were very good throughout the tournament.
Yeah.
Again, I never heard of that lad before it. Centre mid, we're going on to midfield, so we'll just kind of go with a 3 in the middle.
Yeah.
Something similar. I've 2 of the same there, Sky Sports. I've Amrabat, and the other one I was going to go was Modric, but I'm just going to give it to that Tushilemi or Tushinemi. Is it
Tuamini? Yeah.
And then Griezmann, say, kind of playing as a 10 or centre forward. Griezmann had a phenomenal tournament too.
He did, in fairness.
Up top, I'm just different from the boys. Giroud could easily do it, but I have Messi, Mbappe, and Alvarez.
Yeah, not a bad team.
It's just like it's a team that, look, it's kind of heavily. It's very, very orientated towards the teams that got to the semi-final. But I'm just saying, like, I've honourable mentions there to the Moroccan goalie, and to Saka. Saka did have a very good tournament, to be fair, especially off the back of the abuse he got after the Euros. But again, look, it's people that stood out to me, and that like they got vital goals, they got big goals, they defended well, and they got very far in the tournament. I don't believe this thing that England. I've seen some teams there with Harry Maguire centre back. Like, what's this like pity kind of points? He didn't have a bad tournament, but no way he was the best centre back in the tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, I'll give you my one, and I'll put it up on the screen because I've done it. There's actually I should have told you, Aaron, there's actually a tab on the BBC Sports page that allows you to do it. So this is my one. I've gone with Martinez in the goal. I'm very similar to you, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah. Like there's keeper probably with better stats, saves, clean sheets,
just for overall impact, you just cannot give it to anyone else. You know what I mean? Hakimi and Gvardiol, you've said it all about the two of them. I've gone with Hernandez as left back. I think, and you're dead right in what you're saying in relation to the World Cup final. He did have a stinker of a game, but I think, in the lead up to it, I thought he was brilliant. And I've gone with Varane. And again, I've tried to do this as much as possible with my United hat on, and this doesn't come with a United hat on. Again, it goes back to, if you take away the final, I think they were, France were pretty good in defense. And I've seen the video of his speech against Morocco at halftime as well and stuff like that. And I just think he's a Rolls Royce, and I love him.
He is. Look, I can't even really give you a stick saying like your rose or red tinted glasses are on. He did have a very good tournament.
Yeah. In the middle, then I've gone with Bellingham. I think to do it, he had a very good tournament. I know he obviously didn't go as far as you would have liked with England, but I think for a 19-year-old,
it was no fault of his anyway. Yeah,
no, absolutely not. And for a 19-year-old to be doing that is unbelievable. Griezmann were the same on that one, and I've gone with Bruno Fernandes. He has the third most goal involvements in the tournament after Messi and Mbappe, so I couldn't leave him out of it.
No, look, that's probably heading a bit towards United. But then again, this is a matter of opinion. It's each of our teams.
And I know people take Fernandez, some people love him, some people hate him. And, I just think outside of Messi and Mbappe, goal involvements, he was third. So, that's his game. His game is, creating and trying to score goals.
Brilliant. The reason, I have your man Amrabat and they're ahead of him, and I had just never heard of this lad. And this is like a real lad.
Yeah,
that you could sign off the back of the World Cup and he could be solid useless. Somebody could sign him for 50 million and he could be, but he took the ball off the goalie and he traveled 70 yards with it, taking on lads, kicking it past them. You might bring it into the corner and he didn't know what to do. I thought he was phenomenal.
Brilliant. Yeah. And then the three up front, I think I'm the same as you, Mbappe, Messi and Alvarez. And I think...
Giroud, you could easily. Giroud did have a good tournament, but
he was hooked after 39 minutes in the final. You're not getting into the team of tournament with that. You know what I mean?
Well, Alvarez or Hernandez got in there.
Yeah, but he wasn't hooked.
No, he was stink though.
Yeah, but anyway, look. But yeah, I mean, look, we're pretty much similar enough, and I think the majority of people will go with the same. Again, just to finish up on the World Cup and give my thoughts on it, I thought it was a fantastic World Cup, and I know and it'll always rumble on all of the political stuff in the background, but in terms of just pure football, I think it's been a brilliant World Cup. I really do. Obviously, like you were saying, the time of year that it's on, you're coming home from work and there's a game on every evening. I thought it was brilliant. I really did. Now, do I want another Winter World Cup? Probably not, because I do enjoy the summer ones, but I thought it was brilliant. And I
thought it was too. And to tell you the truth, I'm not saying the next one, but if it was to happen again in the future, it wouldn't put me off the idea. Again, no. I thought, and to be fair to Qatar, they were getting a lot of stick before it. I'm not saying everything they do over there is right, but it did come across very well. It was a phenomenal tournament. It was a spectacle. They did it very well.
Yeah, absolutely.
In my opinion. And just before we go back to the club scene there, just 5 minutes there on who you think may have been standouts, who do you think may be, say, the new El Hadji Juff, or the lads who've played at World Cups and made a name for themselves and are looking to move on. Not looking to move, but clubs are going to be coming in for him.
Yeah. Well, I think first and foremost, you would have to say Martinez in the goal, just for what he's done. You know, he's had
When
his
Martinez in the goal, like, he done the exact same thing that he done here now at
in the Copa
the
America
Copa
last year.
America. So I don't think, I know again it's a matter of opinion, but I don't think this is anything. I don't think anybody has seen anything with Martinez that most people didn't know before that watch football.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I
Like,
agree.
he is an absolute shithouse. He's done this before. He's done this for Messi before. He stands on penalty spots. He scuffs them with his feet. He throws the balls away. He's done the exact same thing 2 years ago, or maybe last year in the Copa America, whenever it was on last.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
No, I
but
agree.
again, he could be looking. He's 30, 31.
Yeah.
Keepers can go till 36, 7 easily.
Yeah, exactly. The other, I'll rattle off a couple of names real quick.
Probably
I'll give
similar
you
to
maybe
me.
2 or 3. Gvardiol, obviously we mentioned him already. He
Yeah.
has to be in there. I think he's, I'm not. Who is he playing with again? I forgot who he's playing with.
Leipzig. He's 20 years
Leipzig.
old. Like,
Yeah.
Red Bull franchise, they're
Yeah.
going to be in no rush to sell. They will be holding
No.
out for 60, 70, 80 million for this lad.
Yeah,
Because they
easily.
don't need the money. Not that
Exactly.
they don't need the money, but
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. Obviously, Bellingham, but it's pretty much on the cards that he's going to move in the summer anyway. So, we'll skip over him.
where do you think his destination will be?
I don't know. I think he's definitely coming back to the Premier League. I don't see him going to Spain. Or
He has Man City written all over it, unless Liverpool can. I think it's a foot race between the two of them if he is coming to Liverpool, or if he is coming to England.
Now, the one thing I would say, and this is going to throw a big spanner in the works, and Manchester United are potentially going to have new owners by March. Okay, now let me just throw this out to you, right? And again, if we take it in terms of financial pulling power more than anything else, right? You're the new owner going into Manchester United, and you take over the club in April. Transfer window opens in January. You want to make a statement signing. Do you go and throw 150 million at Bellingham? I think you do. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to write United out.
I'm not saying you won't throw that money at him. I just don't think he has any intention of going there. No, I don't think so. Like,
even with the prior connection that we had with him, that, well, obviously he chose Dortmund over us 2 years ago.
No, I don't. I don't. That's only me, and that's only my opinion. I can't see it happening to United at all. Like, he can walk in to a ready-made team at Man City. I know he has no connection to Liverpool. I'm not saying Liverpool have more of a chance than he. I personally don't think that Liverpool will go out and spend 150 million on a player.
Yeah. So as you can see on the screen there, this is coming from James Ducker in the Telegraph, who's a tier 1 journalist. Now, again, it doesn't say anything specific is going to happen, but he said Ten Hag is keen to strengthen in midfield further next year. United showing strong interest in the likes of Bellingham, De Jong, and Mohamed Kudus as well.
Like, how you couldn't have shown any more strong interest in Frankie for the whole of last summer and nothing materialized.
Yeah. Do you think
like
his
he said
mind?
at the end,
Do you think he'll change his mind this summer?
Yeah, but if Barcelona say that Frankie is up for grabs, there's going to be a lot more clubs involved than just Manchester United.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I don't know if he has any interest in going to Manchester United. He said he has never shown any indication himself that he wants to go to Manchester United.
Yeah. Do you think if United finish in the top 4, they'll be able to attract these type of players?
I think if United finish in the top 4, it'll open up a lot more doors for him. If United aren't in the top 4, you may delete that list and go look elsewhere, even if you do throw 150 million at someone.
Yeah.
Like, that's just, I think that realistically, I know you always want to have that glimmer of hope, and United will always have pulling power as one of the biggest clubs and biggest names in world football. But if I was Bellingham now, just realistically, it'd be very, very, very difficult to look past Man City. Like, you're going into a team there, you're going to be 20 years old, and the manager's going to be like, we want to build this team around you. Yeah. He's going to have he will have the likes of all them anyway, but he's going to have Kevin De Bruyne there for maybe 2-3 years. Kevin De Bruyne can play easily till 33 at that top level. He's going to have like link back up with Haaland. So he's like, I have Erling Haaland up top, who's a goal machine. Like,
The Premier League is just going to be over, isn't it?
but I don't see what any other club could offer. And on top of that, whatever any other club offers him, Man City will just top it with 50 grand. I know now, Man, you can go for a shootout with them, but couldn't imagine Liverpool signing him and offering him 350 grand a week.
Liverpool are in the same boat as United are. They're probably going to have new owners by the summer as well. So it depends on what owners come in and say, we're willing to pay you whatever you want. So
I know, but you don't, like, Man, you have went through that before. Like, do they really want to do that again?
What, go through what? Giving players too much money?
Yeah. Like, you're only after kind of getting rid of a lot of that.
Yeah, I
understand. And I'm not saying, I know he's very young, but like, he signed Alexis Sanchez. He was unbelievable.
And I knew you were going to say it.
I know, but that's just the obvious one.
I know, but we signed Alexis Sanchez at 30, not 20.
I know.
You know what I mean? But no, I know what you're saying. Anyway, I'll go back to the final name that I give you in relation to the World Cup that I think could potentially be on the move is McAllister for Argentina. I thought he was absolutely phenomenal, and of course he plays for Brighton.
What gives you the indication that he could be on the move? Just because he's in the Premier League and you never heard of him?
Sorry, not that he could be on the move. That could potentially move to a bigger club, if that makes sense. Now, look, maybe he won't because Brighton are doing well in the Premier League. I could see him in a top 4 team. I could see him in an Arsenal, or I could see him in a Spurs or something like that. Whether that would be a step up for him, I don't know. But
yeah, I was listening to a podcast earlier on, and the Brighton chairman was speaking and everything, and he said he's practically rubbing his hands together. He's saying, when you have a star like this, you want to hold on to and do as much as you can, but sometimes it's just not possible. So he knows in his head already, we want to keep him, but this is also could be their time to cash. Like, if he was to go in the summer, he probably wouldn't go for a whole lot more than 50 million, I wouldn't think. But how often do Brighton get that?
Right. Yeah,
like, exactly. I'm just saying, even with inflation and today's prices, like, I don't think he's like an 80 million player or anything.
No.
He's a player that has won the World Cup, and deservedly so. Okay, I have 2 or maybe 3 here that you didn't name, but again, one of them is obvious, and maybe he was on your list. I don't think you named him, Gakpo, but he was heavily linked before the World Cup, so that's not really something. He impressed at the World Cup, scored his few goals, done well for the Dutch. I don't think he done anything overly impressive or anything that we didn't know that he could kind of already do.
Yeah.
Scored a few nice goals, but I did see in a few matches, I think the first match, he scored a 96th minute winner or something.
Yeah.
And it was a great way to win the game. But up until then, he was fairly non-existent. Yeah. Now he popped up with the winner. I'm not taking that from him. But I'm just saying he did very well, but didn't absolutely set anything alight. Anything you go to World Cup and score is unbelievable. But he didn't, like Ronaldo scored at the World Cup. He had a shite World Cup.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And in what was a pretty average Dutch side anyway. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know what kind of price was being talked about with him before. Like, I don't think he's like an 80 million player or anything.
No. So they're looking at anywhere between 45 and 60 million for him.
Yes, it's kind of a standard going rate. It's terrible these days for decent players. Another one I had is Goncalo Ramos.
Yeah.
Don't know a whole lot about him, but the chap came on and scored a hat-trick when poor old Ronnie was sitting on the bench.
He did. Now, this lad reminds me of James Rodriguez. Has a brilliant World Cup, but will probably spend the next 10 years running around Europe signing for different clubs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, now he has 14 goals this season for Benfica. Now, I don't know a whole lot about him.
He was offered to Wolves last year for 35 million in the summer, and they turned him down.
Was it?
Yeah, he has a 105 million euro release clause in his contract. No one is going to pay that.
No. And you see the flute on him. See that video? No.
He's sneaking extra players onto the pitch.
No, did you see the film of he made some video? Oh, scandalous.
I did. Let's leave that for another.
The last one then that I see, and again, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Did the Sky Sports News may have had him in that team of the season? He's a left winger. Unahi.
Yeah, Unahi.
Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
I thought he looked fairly decent, and
Yeah.
I didn't have a clue who he was. I had to look him up. He plays for Angers. I'm sorry, I don't know how to say that either. They're bottom of the French league, Angres or Angers, and they're bottom of the league. He's 22, hasn't ever been at big club or anything like that. Like, you know, he's probably a player that like PSG could kind of pick up for maybe 15 million off them.
Yeah.
And just have in their squad. Like now he hasn't been ripping it up or anything for them this season. I just looked him up this evening and he hasn't scored or assisted for them this season, but he was impressive at that World Cup. There's now a player that somebody could sign on a 5-year contract, and in 3 years' time he's playing with Birmingham in the Championship.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but yeah, some good options there. It really is. But I suppose we'll only time will tell how these players get on. But shall we move on to the Premier League?
Yeah, fire away.
So obviously, well, we won't, not specifically the Premier League, but just, club football is back, and it's back of tomorrow night. United are playing Burnley in the Carabao Cup. Well, first, I suppose probably the main thing we want to talk about is squads and how they've been affected by the World Cup in relation to players coming back fit, and maybe potentially having a World Cup hangover. I think that'll rear its head if it is going to happen in maybe March, April time. You know what I mean? When fixtures are starting to compact and things like that. But in relation to squads coming back, I think City basically have a clean bill of health. Liverpool have a clean bill of health. I think it's United and Arsenal potentially don't. What do you make of squads coming back? Do you think it'll have a big impact? And, obviously there's a big top 4 race going to happen in the second half of the season.
Yeah, massive. And it's like, the kind of question is now, can the likes of Arsenal hold their own? They're after losing Gabriel Jesus. I think it's for about 3 months at first glance, is it?
Yeah,
or is it?
Minimum.
So, yeah, minimum. So, he hadn't been scoring massively of late to him, but he had made a massive impact on their season, and he was doing very well. You don't only have to be a striker that scores goals.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, once a team is winning, it doesn't massively matter where the goals are coming from if you're getting the results. He's obviously going to be a big blow to them. Varane is obviously going to be a massive blow to United. The only thing that you may hope as United is that, like, maybe Harry Maguire has some newfound confidence.
I don't think Varane has an actual injury more than that.
He just bottled it.
I think he was just exhausted. Yeah, basically. I
he
would
may have
use
been,
another word. But I think the big injury concern for United is Delors. He has a hamstring injury, I'm pretty sure. You are sucking the life out of that pipe, I can hear you down the microphone.
Sorry, I thought I covered the mic and all.
But Delors is Delors is a big injury concern for United, and the fact that we're light at left back at the moment already, at right back at the moment is a concern.
And there's kind of reports going around that Erik ten Hag is keen to find a solution for Spider at right back for Wan-Bissaka. So I don't think he has any plans to be playing him.
No, and I actually had a TikTok about it today, and I'd like to get your input on it. So we're playing Burnley tomorrow night. Would you play Wan-Bissaka at right back, or would you put, say, Malacia as a left back over in the right full position?
Well, Malacia is right-footed, I think.
No, he's not.
Is he?
No, he's not.
Who? Oh, no, maybe. Malacia has played right full then, has he?
He has. He's played there once, and he had a poor game.
Maybe that's where I seen it, that he had, because I just wouldn't be a firm believer of, even though, look, it can work well, I just think your right and left full should be naturally right and left footed, naturally. Obviously they're professional footballers, have a strong, weak foot. But, like, you want your left full overlapping and whipping in crosses on his left, not cutting back in on his right. And when you're thinking of clubs of Premier League stature, they should be able to have that. It was one thing I always found with that United boy. What's the young lad's name? He went on loan there to Norwich.
Williams. There he is there on the
Williams.
screen.
Is he? He like, He's a good lad. Probably he's never going to cut as United, but like
he's a right-footed left back.
Yeah. And I always just thought how poor, like, you know, you're getting to the byline and he really looks like he's hooking it in with the left foot, not actually putting it. You know, as playing as a fullback yourself, if you're running down, you have the ball in your strong foot, you can try and try and put it to a position at the back post. If you're going down the left and doing that, you're swinging it in and hoping for the best. You realistically are, though.
Yeah, throwing a big hook sandwich left at it.
And what's that? Sorry, what does that tweet? That
tweet is the squad for Burnley. So we have David De Gea, Heaton, Dubravka, Bishop. Like, we have 5 fucking goalkeepers. That'll tell you how short we are in other areas. Defenders: Wan-Bissaka, Williams, Maguire, Bennett, Lindelof, Shaw, and Malacia. Midfielders:
is Bennett centre half?
Yeah.
Is he?
Now he's very young, so I'd be very surprised if he played. Midfielders then: McTominay, Fred, Eriksen, Casemiro, Iqbal, Van de Beek, and Fernandes. So we could have our strongest, 3 starters that we normally have there. So, you know, obviously Casemiro, Eriksen, and Fernandes. And then our attacking options are Garnacho, Rashford, Martial, Anthony, then Anthony Elanga and Palestri. So you could be looking at...
That's like... I know you have players missing, but like... That is such a bad squad, isn't it?
It's not the best.
No, I know you have world-class players in there, a mix of them, but you just look at that, like there's some, like, look, Wan-Bissaka, Williams, Bennett's young, don't know him, Lindelof,
back up,
Maguire, McTominay, Fred, Iqbal young, Van de Beek, Garnacho young coming through, Rashford,
well,
Martial.
the only real players that were missing there, right, that we would have had starting is our 2 centre backs, Varane and Martinez. Other than that, that's basically our squad, you know.
Yeah, like, it's like, but it's so lacking depth, isn't it?
It is. Oh yeah, and I've mentioned this from you know, very early doors in the Premier League season this year. And I'm actually, and of course, sorry, forgot Delo as well.
Yeah.
But
now the 3 of them would massively strengthen up that back line. You put in Dalo, you have Shaw at left back and the 2 boys in centre back. You're up there with the best in the, like, you're up there. I won't say the best. I'm not saying they're necessarily the 4 best players,
but the best.
But they're up there. They're up there with the top 4. You know what I mean? They're a top 4 full back line. Like, they're a top 4 defense.
Yeah, but like, and that's the one thing that I've been worried about this World Cup more than anything else, is the fact that we are so paper thin, and we've got an injury now to our right full. I know we're going to be linked with a right full anyway, because, you know, there's talks of Ten Hag wanting a striker and a right full in January, regardless. So I think the fact that Delo is injured will probably accelerate that anyway. But outside of that, like, Ronaldo,
like if Bruno there done a 6-month injury,
we're screwed.
That midfield is screwed.
Absolutely, I agree. And that's why I wouldn't write out United throwing silly money at someone like a Bellingham or going back for Frankie de Jong or something like that, because, you know, if you look at Casemiro and Eriksen are both over 30, and Bruno Fernandes is not far off it. I think a year or 2 at the most, you know. Now, your man Zidane Iqbal is going to be an absolute quality player, but he's too young to be thrown into that team yet. You know what I mean? But yeah, so yeah, I think, like, that's the main thing. Obviously, we were talking about Arsenal as well. You mentioned there with Sancho, with
Bruno's only gone 28.
Just gone 28, yeah.
So he's still 4 years there.
He's in his prime at the moment. Absolutely. Prime. But I think Gabriel Jesus is going to be a big loss to Arsenal, like you mentioned there. I think
Is there any other I'd like, regarding now Premier League, is there any other like big injury losses?
I don't think so. Not that I'm fully like, if you look at Man City, they came back with, you know, De Bruyne still okay, Haaland didn't even go, Bernardo Silva came back fine, all the English players came back fine, Grealish, Walker, you know. And similarly with Liverpool, Van Dijk is good. Who else? Trent didn't even fucking play. You know,
Did United only have 1 club friendly?
2, lost both of them
to Betis. Yeah,
Betis and Cadiz was the other one.
I see that.
Look, I wouldn't be overly concerned about pre-season or mid-season friendlies. It's just to get the sharpness back.
Nah, I'm looking at some of the names on it here.
Yeah, but
Like,
I do
Tom
worry
Heaton
about.
got 45 minutes. They've led Sam Murray, Rhys Bennett.
Yeah, you basically had teenagers
Charlie
playing in the
Savage.
second half.
Yeah.
You know, but so give me your prediction. I don't want a full out and out prediction, but what way do you see the start of the I suppose the restart of the Premier League going?
United, like, they don't. I know they've Burnley tomorrow. Don't worry about that EFL Cup. Yeah, it'd be nice to win it, but I'd be starting some more of the younger lads there tomorrow night. A mix of maybe Casemiro and these. You want to get the lads getting their touch back, but like every game for United is massive. Like here, you've Nottingham Forest in your first game back. Like that.
Now it could be worse. It could be worse.
Could be worse. It couldn't be better.
Yeah.
How could it be better? You're playing the worst team in the Premier League at home.
Yeah.
Like, this is a way that you can try and now, if results go your way, I think you could edge back into the top four, could you? Nah, no.
Well, we're playing.
Well, you'll have a game in hand.
Yeah, we're playing second. So we're actually not playing on Boxing Day. We're playing the day after.
Stevens' Day.
Yeah, Stevens' Day.
Yeah, not Boxing Day.
Yeah, well, for any of our foreign listeners.
Yeah, but we're Irish.
Yeah, all right.
So
yeah.
no, but then you have Wolves.
English.
Just looking at it here, United, you have Notts Forest away, or Notts Forest at home, Wolves away. Then you have Bournemouth at home, Everton and the FA Cup. Don't worry about that. Then you're into Man City. If you can go into that Man City game, if he could go in there with 9 points, that would be a massive statement.
Huge.
Now,
yeah,
even
huge.
you had minimum, have to be getting a 7. You have to be getting 7 minimum. Yeah. Even 9, you want to be saying Wolves aren't what they used to be. But I know it's
a way. Molyneux is always tough.
I know, and I know you're like playing 3 games in a week or whatever like that. 3 games in 8 days. It's not going to be easy. But if you could come out with, put it this way, 9 points would be massive. 7 points would be, you'd be content. 6 points, you'd be very disappointed.
Yeah, well, I think you're right in that situation because, like, getting 9 points on the board, I think, is a must there because you then go into a very tough run of fixtures, not in relation to just Premier League alone, but you have Everton in the FA Cup that won't be easy. You have City.
You always get Everton, do you?
I know.
My God.
I know. So we have City then. We have in the Premier League, City, Arsenal, Crystal Palace and Leeds. Now, they're 4 difficult enough games.
Now, you'd be looking at Palace, you'd be like, thinking Palace mightn't be that bad.
But then you're going straight into the Barcelona game then in the Europa League.
Leeds is a derby game too. Leeds love getting one over on United.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like Leeds.
Yeah. And then you have Leicester sandwiched in between the 2 Barcelona games in the Europa League as well. So, you're looking at a run of, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 difficult enough games in a row. You then have Brentford and then you're into Liverpool away, so... that brings you right up to the start of March. And actually, Liverpool away is on my birthday. So, happy days. But look, Ricey, I think we'll wrap it up there. I appreciate you coming on. It's been good. Good one back. We'll start hopefully getting them regular every week now as well, guys, for, the Premier League returning. I'd like to thank you all for listening. Anyone who's been listening through with us, appreciate it. If you're new to the podcast, please do give us a 5-star review wherever you're listening. We're United Community Channel on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all of the platforms. So give us a follow wherever you are. But I appreciate you listening. Thanks to everyone who has. We'll be back again next week with our first round of Premier League fixture reviews. But until then, I appreciate it and take care.